Okay, so you're really wanting to get a good grasp on Delhi's history,
Yeah,
but you want to do it without wading through tons and tons of material.
absolutely.
Right. Well, we're on the same page.
Totally.
We hear ya. And we've got you covered today with a deep dive into some awesome resources that can give you exactly that. The key info on Delhi's history delivered efficiently.
And we're going to cover a few different angles here.
Yes, sir.
We'll be looking at some existing history podcasts about Delhi.
Perfect places to just dive right in.
Yeah, and then we'll also throw in some ideas if you're even thinking about maybe starting your own podcast.
Because why not?
Right.
So our mission today is to really pinpoint the best starting points for understanding this incredibly layered city.
And it is incredibly layered.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, when you look at the podcasts out there, it's really striking how many different ways there are to approach Delhi's history.
Yeah.
Like take Delhi Decoded, for example.
Okay.
That one really zeroes in on the physical city itself.
Okay.
You know, the monuments, the cultural sites. Yeah.
I see.
And what's so cool about it is how it can take something like the Qutub Minar and unpack all its layers, revealing the different theories about how it was built and what its purpose was.
So it brings it to life.
Exactly. It gives you this tangible connection to the ambitions of early Delhi.
Which is what we want.
For sure.
So if you've ever walked past the Red Fort and wondered what stories those walls could tell,
Oh, yeah.
that podcast sounds like a perfect place to start.
Definitely. And then you've got something like Echoes of India,
Okay.
which takes a much broader view. It explores ancient Indian history as a whole.
Wow.
And it shows you where Delhi fits into that huge historical narrative.
So you see Delhi's place in the bigger picture.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
not just looking at Delhi in isolation.
I like that.
Yeah, it helps you understand it as part of a much larger story that's been unfolding for literally millennia.
That's awesome. And how does the History of India podcast fit into all of this?
So that one's interesting because it goes deep on specific periods. Like it really digs into the Delhi Sultanate.
So that's roughly the 13th to 16th centuries, right?
Yeah, a time of major Islamic rule and cultural exchange.
Fascinating.
And of course, it covers the Mughal Empire, too, which came after and left this huge mark on Delhi.
Oh, yeah. You can't talk about Delhi without talking about Mughals, their architecture, their administration.
Exactly. They shaped the city from the 16th to the mid-19th century.
Huge influence.
Yeah, so with the History of India podcast, you can really immerse yourself in a particular era that grabs your attention.
I see. So if you're fascinated by the Mughals with their iconic buildings and powerful emperors,
Right.
that podcast would be a great resource.
Totally. Now, we also came across Heritage Insight India.
Okay.
And this one, well, it covers historical sites all across India.
So it has a broad scope.
It does,
How about-
but it always ends up highlighting Delhi's key heritage sites, too.
Which makes sense. Delhi's been so central.
Exactly. And lastly, we have the Empire podcast.
This one sounds intriguing.
It specifically focuses on the impact of the British Empire on Delhi.
And that's a period from, what, the mid-18th to the mid-20th century?
Right.
A time of dramatic change for Delhi.
Absolutely. The British completely reshaped the city, both physically and politically.
It's amazing when you think about how all these different podcasts show how central Delhi has been for centuries.
It's mind-blowing.
Like, it's been this stage for empires rising and falling, cultures clashing.
Yeah, and it just highlights how important Delhi has been continuously across such vastly different historical periods.
It's incredible. Now, for those listeners out there who might be thinking, hey, maybe I want to explore Delhi's history in a more hands-on way, maybe even start my own podcast.
Yeah.
The sources we looked at actually have some great advice for getting started.
Like one key thing they emphasize is to narrow your focus.
Okay, so don't try to cover everything at once.
Right. Instead of trying to tackle the whole of Delhi's history, maybe zero in on something specific.
Like what?
Well, you could do a deep dive on the Delhi Sultanate, or the Mughal era, or even something like the impact of partition on the city.
That's a great idea because focusing like that can help you from feeling completely overwhelmed.
For sure.
And it allows you to really develop a deep knowledge of your chosen area.
Exactly. Plus, it helps you connect with a more specific audience who are interested in that same niche.
Right, right. And once you've got your niche, what then?
Then it's all about brainstorming those episode topics.
Okay, so obviously you've got the major landmarks like the Red Fort, Humayun's tomb.
Of course.
Those are must-haves.
Yeah, but you could also explore lesser-known stories.
Ooh, I like that.
Or maybe trace the evolution of Delhi's unique culture.
Okay.
Things like how its cuisine developed or the influence of Sufi traditions.
Those are great ideas because sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones that aren't as well known.
Exactly. They're hidden gems just waiting to be discovered.
And when it comes to actually recording a podcast, what do you need?
Well, the good news is you don't need a fancy professional setup.
That's a relief.
Right. A decent microphone and some user-friendly recording software are all you really need to get started.
So something like Audacity or Anchor would work.
Absolutely. And there are tons of resources out there to help you learn the ropes.
So it's not as intimidating as it might seem at first.
Not at all.
Yeah.
In the end, it's really the quality of your research and your passion for Delhi's history that will make your podcast stand out.
That's so true. It's the passion that really connects with listeners.
And speaking of connecting with listeners,
Yeah.
the sources we look at really emphasize the importance of building a community around your podcast.
Not that.
So sharing personal stories if they're relevant,
Okay.
bringing in experts for interviews.
To get those deeper insights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even incorporating feedback or questions from your listeners.
So making it interactive.
Right, to create a more engaging experience.
I love it. So whether you're ready to immerse yourself in an existing podcast about Delhi,
Or feeling inspired to create your own,
you've now got a clearer picture of the resources that are out there.
and some practical steps to get you started.
The key takeaway here is that Delhi's past is just brimming with fascinating stories,
And it offers so many ways to explore and learn.
both as a listener and as a potential creator.
Totally. Now, as you think about all the different periods of Delhi's history we've talked about today,
Right, from the ancient settlements to the Delhi Sultanate, the Mughals, the British Raj,
which era sparks your curiosity the most?
what questions come to mind when you imagine stepping back in time to experience that period firsthand?
That's what we want to know.
Keep those questions in mind as you continue your own explorations of Delhi's amazing history.
It's a journey worth taking,
It really is.
and we'll be here to help you along the way with more deep dives into the past.
So stay tuned.
And keep